Learning about human nature has become a closely guarded family secret, never revealed by emperors or officials. From ancient times to the present day, every dynasty has had two systems of knowledge. One is the inner chamber knowledge, the other is the outer chamber knowledge. Emperors and the wealthy kept the inner chamber knowledge to themselves, for their children and descendants to study, never disclosing it. They only shared the outer chamber knowledge with others to learn. Inner chamber knowledge teaches about power, the art of manipulating hearts, and the craft of governance. Meanwhile, outer chamber knowledge teaches how to become a more obedient sheep. This also explains why 90% of people are always exploited. What I'm saying may be hard to hear, especially since it's not easy to accept. So please remember to read until the end to fully grasp the wisdom of the ancients. Greetings to you, dear friends. Life is a fierce battle. Living is a war, but you only know how to throw punches and kicks, while the rich have mastered freestyle combat. Below is a truth known only to a select few. For 5,000 years, there have always been two systems of thought. One is based on the belief that human nature is inherently good, following the teachings of Confucius and Mencius. The other is based on the view that human nature is inherently evil, according to the legalist school of thought. Is Confucius' philosophy entirely correct? When mentioning Confucius, many think of him as a saintly figure. I too acknowledge that Confucius' ideas have truly great aspects, but in today's era, many of his concepts are clearly no longer suitable. We learn from anyone, not by blindly copying everything, but by studying critically, taking the good and discarding the bad. So, what's the flaw in Confucius' philosophy? The biggest problem is the imprisonment of human thought. In Confucius ideology, women have no voice, no right to education, no freedom to step outside, no say within the household. Confucius speaks endlessly of rituals, the 3 bonds and 5 virtues, dividing people into different ranks. Punishments do not reach the nobles. Rituals do not extend to the commoners, meaning that high-ranking officials who err need not face punishment. Just being bound by etiquette is enough. Meanwhile, commoners aren't treated with such courtesy. If a commoner makes a mistake, they face legal punishment. He worked tirelessly to uphold the hierarchical system of a slave society, proposing theories like, if the ruler orders the subject to die, the subject who does not die is disloyal. If the father orders the son to perish, the son who does not perish is unfilial, to safeguard the power of the ruling class. He demanded that the masses unconditionally obey every decree of the monarchy, no matter how gravely the emperor erred. Officials and citizens had to comply, or they'd be deemed violators of the 3 bonds and 5 virtues, rebels, traitors. This locked the people's minds shut, stripping them of the ability to think independently. In the end, feudal dynasties crumbled, emperors grew deluded, the populace remained ignorant, and foreign nations invaded and oppressed them. Confucius' philosophy, through its educational outcomes, made people increasingly submissive, compliant with rules, accepting of their lowly fate, docile. Confucian thought claims human nature is good, preaching benevolence, righteousness, and morality, demanding that everyone treat those around them accordingly. That's what makes a nobleman, a gentleman, a lady. But in reality, those who believe humans are inherently kind end up deceived by the pretenders. Those who trust in benevolence and morality end up hurt by people who preach ethics with their mouths but harbor selfish hearts. Kindness, benevolence, morality, all these are just stylized strikes. They sound nice, look beautiful, but they're impractical. Meanwhile, the true masters are those who appear refined on the outside, yet quietly train in freestyle combat. Confucian thought is like those flashy, eye-catching moves. Its hallmark is eloquent words, elegant forms, but no use in real combat. It's exactly like the stylized strikes of traditional martial arts. And most people remain poor precisely because their minds are filled with the ideas of Confucius and Mencius. Their mouths always spout lofty ideals. Meanwhile, the rich are rich because their minds are filled with legalist thought. It may not sound pleasant, but it's highly effective in real battles. What happens when stylized strikes face off against freestyle fighting? Surely many have heard of or seen the disastrous match of a traditional Chinese martial arts master. His name was Ma Baogua, and he fought an amateur MMA freestyle fighter. They clashed in the ring. The two had a vast gap in fame and experience. Before the fight, the referee repeatedly warned Mabagwa to go easy. Yet, less than 30 seconds after the match began, Mabagwa was knocked down 3 times by his opponent, finally collapsing, unable to stand. It stunned the public. Traditional martial arts, with thousands of years of history, lost so easily to rule-free freestyle combat. Many suspected Mabagwa was a fraud. In my view, though Mabagwa was somewhat boastful, if he were truly a con artist, he wouldn't have dared step into that fight. The truth is, no traditional martial art can hold its own against freestyle fighting. This isn't to disparage traditional martial arts, but they're built on specific rules. Opponents must follow a set pattern to strike. Freestyle fighting, however, has no fixed moves. The sole aim is to utterly defeat the opponent. Traditional martial arts can't beat freestyle combat. It's an inevitable outcome, as their techniques don't fit the rules of modern arenas. The poor toil with all their might to overcome hardship, yet remain poor, because their mindset doesn't align with society's rules of wealth. Many carry in their heads Confucian ideals passed down for thousands of years, grand theories, stylized strikes. They sound appealing, look impressive. In ancient times, those ideas were indeed useful because everyone followed standard rules to strike. You just had to stop at enough. And as long as you were a noble, you'd hold a high place in society. But the rules of today's era have changed. You step into a freestyle ring, it doesn't matter if you're a noble or not. If you have money and strength, you're the noble. No one follows noble rules to strike anymore. So your immediate defeat is unavoidable. Legalist thought is like freestyle fighting. Its champions are Han Fizi and Shang Yang. Let's hear what Han Fizi says about human nature. Han Fizi believed the fundamental relationship between people is based solely on profit. He said that as long as there's profit, even the most distant relationships can grow close. But once profit is harmed, even father and son can become mortal enemies. Men at 50 still crave, while their wives past 30 begin to fade. So, given the chance, the husband will surely seek someone new. Do you think emotions can be trusted? In his view, no man lacks desire. If one seems to, it's only because he lacks the means to indulge. Han Fizi said that in ancient times, there was no real affection between emperors and their vassals. They constantly schemed against each other. Morality and benevolence were mere words. Profit was the truth behind it all. Confucian thought only works when there's no conflict of interest. The moment interests clash, it becomes useless. In courtship, Confucian ideals may work. But after marriage, when spouses dispute over profits, if you stick to Confucianism, being endlessly kind, handing over all your money, you'll easily get hurt. When your kids are young, you can follow Confucianism. But when they grow up and you age, if you keep following it, sharing your wealth, you'll suffer in your old age. Using profit to force others to treat you rightly, that's true morality. Hoping others will treat you well without offering them any profit, that's just fake morality. Confucianism is an idealized dream, while legalism is the path to that dream. Otherwise, it's all empty talk. Everything you hear, everything you see is a game. This world is built on 2 systems of order. The first, fairness, justice, morality, etiquette. The second, a war of hidden profits behind the first. The morality of the first system is just a facade. The profit of the second is the substance. The knowledge we're exposed to from childhood to adulthood is mostly the superficial thinking of the first system. People always calculate profit in their hearts. That's the profit rule of the second system. The skilled ones use the first system as a tool to achieve the goals of the second. Almost everyone dons a gleaming cloak of morality, then seeks every way to profit themselves. Moral rules, everyone speaks them aloud. Profit rules, everyone keeps them in their hearts. So never let the first system blind you. Use the second to see through things. For instance, we can't just look at what someone says, we must look at what they do. The first system is just a trap. You can't treat it as a method to settle down, succeed, or gain fame. If you want to understand people's behavior, you must analyze it through the second system. That's the method of profit analysis. Profit is the primary driver of human action. The profit analysis method never grows outdated. For example, here's something that happened around me. Once, I went with Teacher Lam to Quang Ninh. Since we had a lot of luggage and weren't familiar with the area, at the hotel lobby, Teacher Lam secretly slipped 500,000 VND as a tip to the bellhop who carried his bags. For the next few days, that staff member was incredibly attentive to us. Everything, from travel plans to luggage, was arranged perfectly. After returning, in a lecture, he mentioned this case and told the students, "If you want someone's help, you first need to understand what you can offer them. Beyond profit, no other bond forms between strangers. Money is the best expression. 500,000 VND isn't much, but it's far more useful than sweet words or fake flattery. That's the value exchange method. Whenever you encounter a situation, you must quickly divide it into different profit parties. Whose profit does your action harm? Whose profit does it boost? Those whose profit rises are your friends. Those whose profit falls are your foes. You must distinguish friends from enemies this way. There are no friends,